Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Neeley, and I'm here this morning to talk about information technology security, more commonly known as IT security or cybersecurity. So what is IT security? It is the process and practice of protecting networks, computers, programs, and data from attack, damage, or unauthorized access. Cybercrime has been on the rise since the late 1980s with the advent of the home computer and the World Wide Web. Now, in 2015, cybercrime accounts for billions of dollars in damages yearly as more and more sophisticated methods are used. When dealing with security, you have to understand this paradox. The paradox of accessibility versus security. Data that no one can get to is useless, and data that is easily accessible isn't secure. The user has to decide how to manage their data in a way that they still have access to it, but deny unwanted access just as easily. A good security strategy must be implemented and followed if the user wishes to protect their virtual privacy. So what's the big deal? So when it comes to securing something less physical like data, security becomes a big concern. If you own a computer, smartphone, tablet, or any device that can access the internet, you could be at risk of cyber intrusion. In order to protect sensitive or personal data, a user needs to educate themselves on the dangers of neglecting secure practices and methods that hackers use to take advantage of others. With some good knowledge of IT security practices, most attacks can be easily prevented or defeated. I was always taught that a good offense is the best defense. Creating a plan of action in this case is better than waiting until something bad happens to your device or a device near you. Because generally speaking, in today's computer-driven society, a person who has zero defenses is an easy target. So it's important, very important, to establish a defense. First thing you can do is make sure that you stay updated, whether it be your computer operating system or applications like Java, Adobe, antivirus programs, things of that nature. It is crucial to keep software updated as vulnerabilities can arise and provide an entry point for a cyber attack. This will ensure that a system or network stays up to date and safe from possible zero-day threats or newly discovered existing flaws. Now as for passwords, everybody's got them, right? There are a few rules you should keep in mind when creating and storing them. Having a password that is at least 12 characters in length, that is a mixture of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols is key. This will make sure that your password is not vulnerable to a brute force attack. It can still be, but it will take them years. Also, do not store your passwords in places that are easily accessible, like around your desk or in an unsecured program like a password storer. And remember, the only person who should know your password is you. Probably one of the most important factors in securing your device is going to be through the use of an antivirus or anti-malware application. This way, if something does become infected on your machine, the user has a tool that can prevent or possibly remove the program. Antivirus and anti-malware programs come in two ways usually, free or a paid subscription suite. Do some research on them and decide which one you like the most to suit your needs. But remember, these applications will also need to be kept up to date. Another layer of defense that can be used, and is commonly used, is what is known as a firewall. A firewall is a program or device that acts as a barrier to keep destructive elements out of a network or specific computer. Firewalls also come in two different types: software-level firewalls and hardware-level firewalls. More than likely, if you're just an average user with a small office home network, you're going to be using a software firewall. Hardware firewalls are more commonly found in the enterprise market as they can be pretty costly to deploy. Luckily, Windows operating systems offers a software firewall included. If used properly, a firewall can provide a strong defense against outside threats on the internet. And I have a short video here on operating the Windows firewall.
Hi there. Windows 8 has its own built-in firewall. You can enable the Windows firewall to ensure the security of your PC. Let me show you how. Right-click on a blank area of the Start screen, and then click All Apps on the menu bar that appears at the bottom. Under Windows System, click on Control Panel to access it. Click System and Security, and then click Windows Firewall. Select Turn Windows Firewall on or off. Select the radio button next to Turn on Windows Firewall under Private Network Location Settings and Public Network Location Settings options. Now click OK. Well, hope you found this helpful. You can find many more tips on our YouTube channel. Click on the button above to subscribe. And if you
Moving on, let's discuss some more features that the Windows operating system has to offer as far as security goes. Windows uses a system known as rights and permissions as an added layer of security for computers and networks with multiple users. This allows for users to have access to what they want and only what they're allowed to see. As an administrator, it's important to follow the rule of least privilege when assigning rights and permissions. That is to say, let the average user only have what they have to have. The only person who should have full access rights to the computer, it would be the system network or administrator. For everything else, there's regular user accounts. When used properly, rights and permissions can effectively lock down a computer from other users while still giving them access to what they need. Here's a short video on understanding rights and permissions.
Another way to mitigate risk is to make sure that people only have access to the resources necessary for them to do their job. Sometimes this access can be a difficult one. Some people may feel they are required more access to the network. You walk into some environments and almost everybody is an administrator on the network. Other environments, maybe only one or two people are. That creates a problem sometimes, but ultimately remember, it's management that gets to decide who has that level of access. It's you as the security professional that must implement that security policy on the network. You may also want to look at exactly who has access. Just by providing a level of access is important, but if you're providing access to HR data, you may want to make sure that just the HR department has access to that data and no other parts of the organization. Again, there will be a group of people that will tell you these are the members of the HR department, these are the only people who should have access to this data, and you have to make sure that both of those things sync up on the network. You also have to think about the type of access people have been granted. If you're in the HR department, do you have access to these people's records, and can you make changes to those records, and are you keeping track of those changes? If you think about the management requirements, management may not know the nuances of the types of access that you're able to get on a file server or in a piece of software. It's up to you as the security professional to be the liaison here, be able to understand what management requirements are and be able to turn those into the technical restrictions you need to just allow the access that's needed. You may also want to audit this every once in a while, every few weeks, every few months, or every year, go back and make sure that all of these requirements are still in place. One example of this is looking at who has administrator access to the network. When the company was much smaller, maybe more people had administration access, but now the company has grown, and from a security perspective, that puts us at risk. And we need to make sure that not so many people have access to so much information that might be in our environment. This can be a bit painful. If somebody previously was administrator and you now remove that capability from their account, now they feel like they don't have the access that they need. So sometimes you have to work around some of these challenges you have, not at a technical level, but at a more personal level with the things that you're putting in place from a security perspective.
Another great security step I'm going to discuss today is known as encryption. Encryption is the process of encoding messages or information in such a way that only authorized parties can read it. By default, Windows comes with an encryption method using the encrypted file system. The encryption works only with the NTFS file system in Business, Ultimate, and Professional editions of Windows. EFS is not supported by the older FAT32 file system. When properly used, the encrypted file system is another layer of security designed to keep user data secure and out of public reach. Here's a video on operating the encrypted file system in Windows.
When you don't want to encrypt an entire drive as we did in the previous movie, you can choose to encrypt individual folders and even files if you so choose using File Explorer. That's what we're going to do right now. Let's go to our desktop. By encrypting folders and files, you're protecting them from anyone else but you. That means if they log in with their account and navigate to your files and folders, they won't be able to access them, but they will be able to access anything else. So let's start with File Explorer. We'll go down below to File Explorer here, give it a click, and let's go to our desktop and create a new folder. Let's say this is the folder that's going to contain all of our private information. So we'll click New Folder. It's created down below with the default naming of New Folder. Let's type right over that private. All right, press Enter, locks it in, and that folder is still selected. If we want to encrypt it now, we just go up to Properties, click the upper half. This is the properties for a folder called Private. Let's go down to the Advanced button, click there, and you'll notice a checkbox to encrypt contents to secure data. Select it, click OK, click Apply, and you'll see what happens. It turns green over here. All right, we'll click OK. Now let's double-click the folder to open it up. It's currently empty, but we'll move this window off to the right. In fact, if you move all the way to the right, you'll see it snaps into position, taking up half the screen. Let's just leave it there for now. Next, we're going to go to our exercise files because you can also encrypt individual files. Double-click. Now we're going to move this from the title bar at the top all the way to the left, and it will snap into position to take up the left half of our screen. All right, let's say this PDF file needs to be encrypted. We don't want other people being able to read the contents. We can select it. You can select multiple files if you wanted to, encrypt them all at the same time. But I think just this one needs to be encrypted, so we go to Properties, just as we did for the folder, go to the Advanced button, and choose to encrypt the contents to secure the data. Click OK. Now when you click OK, you're actually going to be prompted to encrypt the file and its parent folder, the exercise files. You can encrypt the file only, that is an option, but typically you want to encrypt both the file and the folder because some software will store a temporary unencrypted copy of the file while you're working with it. So that's an option to consider. Let's just go with encrypt the file only for this exercise and click OK. Notice it turns green, everything else is accessible by anyone else. This one, for sure, is only accessible by me. Now the other thing we can do is bring files into our encrypted folder, and by doing so, they become encrypted. Let's say we want to drag, for example, our veggies here. Click, drag it over to the other folder, to private, and release. Look what happens. It appears in this folder now, and it too is turned green. It's encrypted or protected from other users. That goes for any of these that we drag over. If we drag it back into our exercise files folder and release, notice it's still encrypted. So select it to decrypt it, go to Properties, down to Advanced, and deselect the checkbox. When you click OK and OK again, it turns back to its normal color. So we'll close up these windows, and it's good to know when you don't need to encrypt an entire drive, you can select various folders and individual files to be encrypted. It protects them from other users who might log into the computer and try to access them. We'll go back to our start screen to continue from there.
Another encryption method that you can use on the Windows system is known as BitLocker. BitLocker is a full disk encryption feature included in the Ultimate and Enterprise editions of Windows Vista, Windows 7, the Pro, and Enterprise editions of 8 and Windows 8.1 and Windows Server 2008 or later. BitLocker is a great feature to use if you have highly sensitive data that requires high security. Here's a video on how to operate BitLocker if your operating system supports it. I'm sorry, I appear to have lost the link. Moving on. As the final topic I will be covering is a way of low-tech hacking known as social engineering. Social engineering is defined as the psychological manipulation of people into performing action or divulging confidential information. A good social engineering scam can completely bypass any security put in place by the administration in one fell swoop. Basically, it's like the digital equivalent of a cyber con artist. The best way to avoid social engineering scams is to recognize its existence and practice good common sense against it. Avoid spam or fishy emails from unknown senders. Avoid sharing private or sensitive information verbally or electronically, and only do so after verifying that the information will be secure. Do not download attachments from unknown senders, and always scan third-party files before opening them. And if you have to do away with sensitive information, make sure that it is thoroughly altered or destroyed beyond recognition. Beware of flash drives or other storage media that you do not personally own. They could be loaded with viruses or malware that can auto-run on the system. And it's also a good idea to disable that auto-run feature on Windows PCs. When you leave your workstation, lock it down or turn it off completely. Here's an example of a social engineering tactic in Word.
Stay in security. Today on the Security Cube, we're going to discuss one topic, the social threat to your business.
Here's the whole game, if you don't mind if I try. The thing that you have inside, which would you say would be most valuable? The thing that you have inside your pocket? What's like your front pocket here? Do you have something inside? You don't mind if I break this out? Not that do you? Yeah, leave it. That is strange. So you haven't been in this. Officially off duty.
Okay guys, so we just saw a pretty sweet video of a social engineer or a con man stealing personal items from a guy. And I have to tell you, I'm quite impressed with his skill. Now a lot of businesses ask me, what is a social engineer and how does that apply to my business? Or how does it affect my business? The truth is, a social engineer is somebody who uses social interaction to steal data. That data could be personal, that data could be physical, that data could be coming from your trash can. It's data they want, and they're going to use any and all tactics to get that data. Now, I'm going to show you what social engineering looks like at an actual business, and I'm personally going to do it.
Jive Communications, voice over IP made affordable and reliable, has graciously given us permission to run the simulation. Everyone in caller is accurate.
How are you?
My name is Brandon Barney. I'm the IT director upstairs. I was monitoring our logs this weekend, and I'll tell you guys that Wi-Fi is bleeding in hours. If I could jump onto your computer systems real quick and make sure that's not the case, I'd sure appreciate it.
Alright guys, an employee has one of two choices. They're either going to completely fold and give me access to the network, or they're going to shut me down. So the question is, what are you and your employees going to do? Now, if you're looking for information or tactics used by these criminals, you can check out the link above for information from PC World. Our advice, train your employees and test them. There are lots of professionals out there that can assist you in doing this. Remember, your security matters. Well guys, that's all the time we have for today on the Security Cube. But if you're looking for detailed information on social engineering, I'm going to be posting a pretty
Social engineers, pretty slick, huh? Well, but now that you know about how they work and operate,
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
And remember, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So stay on guard or you could suffer the consequences.
Not now. Guys, everyone gather around. We are about 20 seconds away from the launch. I want to thank all the Tims, of course, for putting this wonderful site together.
It's you.
Thank you so much. Matthew, after you.
8, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, there's a in the Vegas night, huh?
Oh, the weather was a great idea to put in there. Where's on?
What are you doing?
Matthew, don't hit okay, don't hit okay, don't hit okay.
Oh my God.
Call the server.
Detect the server.
Restart.
I'm trying, Eric. No, 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 no.
It's gone.
What do you mean it's
I
gone?
mean, it's gone. They hacked the whole site, man.
We were wide open. Oh, they're clever. Went right in the back door.
Oh God, Matt.
It's some kind of virus from China, maybe.
Damn it. We're hacked.
Thank you, everyone, and that concludes my presentation on IT security.